and I was eating 3 meals a day plus snacks. And then after 2 months, I went down to like 2 to 3 meals a day with less snacks. And after 3 months, I ended up doing like 1 or 2 meals a day and virtually no snacks or very few snacks. And now it's like I can do 1 or 2 meals a day. And I went lion because I plateaued at 250 pounds. And it turned out it was the dairy and the alcohol, probably because I was still having drinks with, people, and I was still eating dairy. So once I cut that out, I just lost 14 pounds immediately. And I've lost 46 pounds, I think, now. So I went from 280 to 234. So in a matter of 6 months. And everything in my life changed, everything. So all, mental, physical. So I would say that based on my experience on my body, and everyone's body is different, that the best practice is to do a strict lion diet or a strict carnivore diet, whichever one you want to do. You can do either one. You're probably going to get the fastest, best results on a lion diet because you're not going to mess around. And like if I would start on the lion and knowing what I know now, how easy it is, it's not really that much more restrictive to me. And although the snacking would have been hard, I probably would have done a modified lion. I probably would have still had eggs and bacon and just done, a modified, but no dairy. So I would say that would have made my results much faster, I think. But I'm not unhappy with my results at all. And now that I've done both, I've actually reintegrated some things into my diet after, being on this 6 months, and my body really I'm basically fine tuning. So I really think that's a great question though. If someone were to ask me, I would say if you're comfortable with it, you can start with the lion, and you can always do a dirty lion, adding some bacon and some eggs in every now and then. I had breakfast the other day with my son because I wanted to. I made him eggs and bacon. I sat down and had eggs and bacon with him, even though I'm lion. So as far as cheating, that's like nothing, right? That's not really cheating when you're on carnivore. But from lion, it's no big deal. So anyway, it just depends what your goals are and what your time frame is. So I'm going to bring Scott in now. You ready, Scott?
I'm jam up and jelly tight. Thank you for being so gracious and allowing me to join in this august group of people. So I'm not going to go to a whole bunch of bio because it's a lot to try to say. 61 years old, been carnivore for about 62 days now, started about 310 plus or minus pounds. When you're that heavy, a day or two can go by and your pounds change a lot. Primary goals and my why are pretty lousy, to be honest with you. It wasn't for my family, because if that were the case, I would have done it a long time ago. But for me, it was my belly hanging over my belt buckle. That became a bridge too far. It hurt too much. So started the carnivore, watched all the videos everybody sees. I watched the Dr. Baker things year after year, and it's January challenges. And I watched a lot of Dr. Ken Berry and a lot of the other doctors, and did research and looked at it, played around with keto for a number of years, off and on, more off than on. And through it all, I came to the realization that I have a sugar problem. And I'm not just addicted to sugar in the classic sense of having that type of addiction, but for me, I'm addicted to sweet things. And that's my problem. So knowing that, armed with information and data, I'm a data type of guy, I went ahead and went in from a dirty keto point of view. That way I kind of alleviated some of the challenges that people would have, maybe going cold turkey into deep carnivore right away. And I'm down about 25 pounds. And that's nice. But the biggest thing is that I am I have a lot less inflammation, like people say. I'd like to say I have a little more clarity of mind. My wife would agree with that. And there I am on the journey and trying to, in the process of remodeling my body and my life, I'm trying to evangelize what we're doing here to everybody that I can.
Yeah, makes sense. I think we all are. We think we've all had the light bulb go off and realize that. I had no intention ever to have a YouTube channel to do this, my YouTube channel is really just to share videos with friends and families and neighbors that were local. It's not like to reach out to people I never met. I'm sure you, let me ask that. Did any of you ever have intentions of doing a YouTube channel before the Carnivore Diet? Besides you, Mitch, because I know you did drones, but that was more of a hobby, right? As a passion thing.
Oh,
but
yeah.
have any of you guys, and feel free to go around, who else wants to start first, but have any of you guys ever had the intention to do a YouTube channel like this, where you're trying to cast a large net and meet as many people as you can before carnivore?
Okay, I'll start.
All right.
Tell me if any of you other guys have experienced what I have. Now, I listened to you on another YouTube video, Larry, and it seems as though everybody that you talked to welcomed your message with open arms from you. All your friends and your family, they all went carnivore, and their friends went carnivore. Well, I had exactly the opposite reaction. I want to tell everybody, and that seems to be something that happens when you discover this. It's like your Ponce de Leon. It's like you've discovered the fountain of youth, and you want to share it. And you want to tell everybody. Well, everybody that I met didn't want to hear it, and I would talk and talk and talk, and I'd get this deer in the headlights look, and then they were starting to tell me, mind my own business. My doctor said this, and it got to be where when people saw me coming, they would turn and run the other way, because they say, listen, don't get this guy started on about food, because and I finally met up with a guy who was just downright nasty to me about it. It really hurt my feelings, and I'm trying to help him. He was a guy that has Crohn's disease, and there's no end to the people with IBD and Crohn's and ulcerative colitis that are actually putting it into remission with this diet. And the way he ranked me out for the nerve to talk to him about something that I couldn't know anything about, I made a decision at that point. I said, that's it. I keep, no more evangelist. I'm not going to do it. They're not interested. So I had this drone YouTube channel, and I said, I want to tell people about this. I want to tell them what it did for me. So I said, let me reactivate my drone YouTube channel and change the name to Old Guy Carnivore. And that's why I did the YouTube thing. I had, like no intention of going on and being yet another carnivore guy on YouTube.
Yeah, my dad is in his late 70s, early 80s, actually 79. And I tried to share it with him after being on it for 6 weeks, and I saw amazing results. And he would not listen at all. So maybe it's a generational thing. I don't know. And that's why I'm hoping maybe I can steer him towards your direction, because you're more of his generation, right?
Thanks.
Maybe he'll be, well, maybe he'll connect. But I mean, that's the thing. I can't connect with him. He will not listen to me. But maybe if he sees people that are in his generation doing it, then maybe that'll be the connection he needs. So, all right, who else wants to take this one? Go ahead, Mitch. You had something to say?
No, go ahead.
Who else wants to take this?
I can tell you that I definitely had no intentions of starting a channel where I'm standing in my sport bra and biker shorts and showing the entire world what I look like. It is humiliating to me and embarrassing, but it's also my story and it's my journey. And I know there's other people that are going through it. So I thought originally to start the YouTube channel, I thought that I would have family and friends watching it and saying, holding me accountable more so than I was holding myself. I had no idea what the carnivore community was like, or, just exactly how much the carnivore diet was even going to affect my life in the way that it has. And so as I started to do it and things started drastically changing for me, I wanted to scream it from the rooftops, and my family is tired of hearing me talk about it. And I'm also a long time vegan, and I will say, Mitch was talking about people being nasty. I have no animosity to the vegan community. I absolutely miss vegetables and fruit. I loved it. I love the flavor and the taste and all of that. But I have never been treated so horribly on YouTube or by anybody than a vegan or a vegetarian attacking me on my channel. And that's one thing I notice about carnivore is they don't do that in return. And even I was talking to my husband, he was like, it's crazy because those were my people. It just amazes me. But I want to, just like everybody else, I want to get the word out there. There are 50-something-year-old females that have been literally on their couch, or males, it doesn't have to be females, but on their couches crying, wanting to give up, not wanting to be here anymore, which is what happened to me. I wanted to die. I was in so much pain. I was so miserable. And if it wouldn't have been for the carnivore diet, I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying that I would have offed myself or anything, but I hated everything about everything. And I owe everything to this, I think. And so I want to tell everybody. So no, I never thought I'd be sitting on YouTube in my underwear, but I mean, this is my life now. So this is what
right. Scott, you and I had talked about, I think, on your after party. By the way, Scott has great after parties. I think, 9 p.m. or something, or it's later. But anyway, 9-ish. You can always listen, people, like and subscribe if you're not to these YouTubers because they got some great content, and check out their channels. But Scott has an after party as a live. I join there sometimes. We were talking about the dogma in our community too, but not just our community. One of the things I noticed is I used to have two things I never talked about on dates because I'm single, and it was religion and politics. Well, I've added a third. It's the diet, because those people will defend those to the death, and it is a dogma. It is complete dogma. So go ahead, Scott. Why don't you tell us what you think about it?
Well, I think that first of all, what was already said is deeply shared. And I think that it's a common thread amongst all the people. I know this undertaking we're having here with remodeling our body, remodeling our minds, reprogramming after decades and decades of, if you want to call it propaganda, marketing, you choose the word, the net effect is the same thing, right?
Yeah.
And I was listening to a semi-retired Bob as I was scampering home, and in an interview he did with JT from Poco Moonshine Family last night, the question came up, what's your elevator pitch? Right?
Nice.
That sales pitch, if we really think about it, and I heard both Katrina and Katarina and Mitch say it, is that you don't want to come on too strong. You don't want to be beating people over the head. You really want them asking the question. You want to give them a leading question. So in all of this, my family, most of my family goes, there goes Dad on another wild goose chase. That's how I am. I'm an inventive guy, creative guy, and always doing something harebrained. The wife, she obviously, after 32 years almost of marriage, she probably a little fatigued by it all. But she is very supportive of me. She says, we're going to go to restaurants where you can get, we ate at Texas de Brazil last night.
Nice.
I
love that.
I ate well, mind you.
I'll bet.
I think in all
I love
of
that place.
Yeah, whether it's our family or somebody from work or someone we just met, one, we need to let them know why we're excited, right? And I think the best way to do that is someone says, why are you looking so happy today? Or you're singing a tune, what's up? Hey, I just got a notification from my doctor. I don't need to take my diabetes meds anymore. They're going to want to know why, So on the couch, instead of saying I'm on a carnivore, I'm saying, I'm on an elimination diet. Oh, I'm doing that keto thing, And then once you're in, and then they ask you the question, then you can say more about it. But we tend to, in our exuberance and our excitement, we tend to oversell and we'd be overzealous and with all the best intentions. Like you said, for the gentleman with Crohn's disease, right? There's such a debilitating disease, but they've heard it all before. They trusted doctors. And isn't that what our problem is? We're fighting against propaganda and dogmas, and then we're bringing them up in our conversation. I don't think that's a win-win.
Yeah, they're institutionalized, those dogmas, and they're built in. They're entrenched in the schools. So these guys are getting trained this way. And it's really sad because, growing up, I don't know about you guys. I never heard of Crohn's disease until like the 90s, I don't think. I never heard of like IBS, all this stuff. I never heard of it. I never heard of half the stuff going out there. And it just, like when I was a kid, people are just more healthy, I guess. And then all of a sudden everyone has peanut allergies and allergies to this. And it gets crazy. And I'm like, wow, what's going on? And I kind of thought it was like modified wheat, GMO stuff. I didn't know. I had theories. Now I know. Now I know exactly what it is.
Well, wouldn't you think that gut permeability and all the inflammation and things that are going on exacerbate what is unhealthy? Like, if you look at Dr. Paul Saladino and the 200 grams of carbs he eats in a day, well, look, the guy in buck wild strong, exercised 4 or 5 hours a day, and wasn't in our conditions. So maybe that's great for him, but we're all uniquely different. We come at it from different perspectives, and we each have to use a different approach.
Yeah, I'll talk to him when he's 58, see how that's working for him, because our bodies do change.
Talk to him when he's 70. Talk to him when he's 76.
Or how about talk to him after a major medical condition that leaves you inactive for 2 years.
Right.
Like I had thoracic outlet syndrome. They had to take the muscles out of the side of my neck. They had to decompress some nerves, and they deadened the nerves right here on my right arm. Right. I went from working out 2-3 hours 5 days a week when I was active duty to being a couch potato, stoned out of my mind on narcotics. Right. Legally.
Right.
Then you try to get back and you find out all those other things you had, they don't just add up linearly, but they're like synergistic, right? And all of a sudden, you can't get up, you can't breathe, you can't go running, you can't go lifting weights. And by the way, I played basketball all the time, full court with the young puppies. Now I played it like that third grade sissy. You know, come back to me after you lose something, and then or like a lady, come back to me after you've had a couple of babies, and you have a prolapsed uterus, and your thyroid decided to give up the ghost, right? Then tell me how that works for you.
Right. I mean, my son is 14, and he can get away with a lot. And I still let him drink milk. I'm like, hey, you can drink milk. He has a glass at night with dinner. I'm saying, that's not a problem. Look at you're a stick, and he's still performing really well. But as an adult, I would never drink milk anymore because I know any dairy actually slows me down and turns me the wrong direction. So, all right, we've got a new question, guys. Anyone here ever have gout that was on carnivore?
I did.
I'm going to put you on, Mitch. Let me talk about this one.
Yeah, I had everything. I never had sugar problems because I've always been a low carb guy all my life for 50 years. I started with Atkins way back in 1973 with the Atkins Diet Revolution book, and always low carb. So I never had a sugar problem. And I always thought, but I yo-yoed all the time because I'm a fierce carbohydrate addict. I cannot stop eating sugar or anything like ice cream or bread. Oh God. I could go through the bakery truck by myself. And, but I was always relatively healthy. They always told me I was healthy. And then as I started to get into my 40s and my 50s, little things started going wrong. And then when I got into my 60s, everything hit me. I had kidney stones. I was hospitalized twice because I couldn't pass a kidney stone. And you talk about pain. I think that's right up there with childbirth. I had rheumatoid arthritis that would flare up in every joint in my body. And at times I couldn't tie my shoes. It hurt so bad. I had, because they would do some imaging on my kidneys to see where the kidney stones were doing. I had 8 kidney stones at one time that were in there. One of them was over a centimeter big. And the good news about most of those is they weren't moving around, but they were still in there. And every 6 months I'd go to the VA and I'd have a CT scan of my kidneys. Right. But when they scan your kidneys, they also see everything else that's in the neighborhood around the kidneys. So, and me, as curious as I am, I would, you can go, if you're a VA person, you can go online and you can get all your medical records, all the radiology reports, everything. And I'm reading these things and I see mild to moderate fatty liver disease. I said, what the hell is fatty liver disease? And all kinds of other things. I had eczema. all over my elbows and all over my arms.
Yeah.
I had, it was crazy. And I said, geez, I'm in my 60s and I'm falling apart already. And I'm still dieting, low carb, still trying to do keto. And I was generally successful. I'd lose the weight, and then I'd get to the weight I wanted to, and then I'd reward myself. Well, I'm here now. I can just have a little bit of ice cream. I'm just going to have a little bit, or maybe a little bit of fruit. And 8 months later, I'm 50 pounds heavier again, and up and down all my life. And finally, 14 months ago, I said, this is absurd. I'm getting to the age right now where if I don't really get off of this roller coaster, I'm going to have a very, very painful and miserable old age. And I did the carnivore thing, and God, I mean, the reason I'm here to talk about it, everything just turned around. I have no kidney stones anymore. They all dissolved and went away. I have no arthritis anymore. I have no back pain anymore. I go to the gym 3 to 4 days a week now, work out like a young kid. I'm putting on muscle that I never had in my entire life, because I was never an athlete. I was always the fat kid. I was always, the kid working the projector. I was never on any sports teams. But right now, I'm more athletic at 76 than I have ever been. On my live stream last night, I got on the floor, did 20 push-ups to show the guys what it's like after a year on carnivore for an old man. I even put pictures of myself on my thumbnails with no shirt on. If anybody knows you, Katerina, you were saying how it feels to show, to put yourself out there. I never would have done that before. So the transformation of just eating a nourishing diet for the first time in my life, and not eating the poisons and the lectins and the anti-nutrients and all the oxalates, and which is what causes the kidney stones that come in the foods that they tell us are superfoods: spinach, almonds, dark chocolate. These are supposedly the superfoods. They're the highest oxalate foods on the planet. So it's the absurdity of the advice that they're giving makes us angry. And I know we all share that anger at the system, not only for getting us into this situation, but perpetuating it because there's so much money behind it. So,
so your gout was cleared up.
Oh, we talked about gout. That's right. Listen, I'm old. I forget. That's a great excuse. Once you get older, man, you can use that anywhere. Oh, sorry, officer, but I'm old. My gout was so painful in my big toe on my left foot. It would keep me up all night long. I couldn't sleep. It hurt so bad. I couldn't walk on it. I haven't had a flare up or any indication of gout since 2 weeks into the carnivore diet. It's everything. Everything is just gone. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
And some people do have flare-ups during the carnivore diet. I know that because I've listened to some guys that have. I think intentional carnivore, Sean did one flare-up during his journey, but he lost like 200 pounds, right? He lost a whole other person. And I think Dr. Berry does have a video, and I would recommend, on gout and carnivore or low-carb diet. So that's what I would check out. Anyone else have anyone want to chime in on that? That has experience with gout? I can't talk about it.
I don't have any.
I had a little bit of gout, and again, it's kind of funny you mentioned in my left big toe, and I used to laugh at people who talk about gout and who would talk about having plantar fasciitis.
Oh God, yeah,
that's painful.
Until I got it right. Nothing like getting humbled that way. But the gout for me, it was when I was eating too much rich food. I like cheese. Right, I get into a cheese board a little too heavy because I thought I'm doing the keto type thing, animal product. And next thing you know, I'm rolling around in the bed going, my big toe is not supposed to have feeling in it. Not bad feeling, not good feeling. It's supposed to be a toe. And all of a sudden I've got pain. I'm just laying in there. Now I'm really tall at 6'5", so my feet hang off the bed. right?
This guy makes me look short.
So
Yeah.
I'm used to my feet hanging off the bed, and I got to get used to the blanket pressure. My ankles are really bad. I broke my left ankle one time in 4 places, and I broke my right ankle and lots of sprains. So the weight of the blanket sometimes bothers me. So I'm kind of in a conundrum. I can't fit on the bed, and I going to drape off the bed, and so the blanket gets me. But I found that the gout condition doesn't seem to be a big issue for me, and I'm happy for it.
Yeah, I've got a bad ankle too, and the blankets hurt my ankle sometimes. I injured mine, got dinged up in the Army. So everyone asked me, like, were you a paratrooper? I'm like, no, unfortunately it wasn't that cool. But I don't have a cool story like that, but it still hurts just as bad as I was, I have what's called vet bod, which is a lot like dad bod, but a lot more pain in the ankles and knees and back.
I tell people all the time, when you go out to look for a car, and you go to a used car lot and you're looking at a car maybe 2 years old, 3 years old, and then you go and you look at the odometer, and you know if the odometer has 150,000 miles, it's only 3 years old, and you say the car looks great, but it has a lot of miles on it, so you're going to be replacing seals, you're going to be doing all sorts of maintenance. I said, well, that's like your body after 4 or 5 years in the military. Your body might look good when you're 35 and you're getting out, or say you do 6 years, so you're getting out when you're 24 years old, but you've got a hard bunch of miles.
You got miles. You do. Yes. All right. I've got another question from Linda G. I'll read it, and then whoever wants to jump in can. So 20th day, but my weak point is breakfast. I don't like coffee and hate eggs. Meat for breakfast is so hard for me to enjoy. Is whey protein waffle acceptable on carnivore? Thank you. So who wants to grab this one?
I'll take a quick stab.
Okay, go ahead.
Whatever you need to do to get started. Matter of fact, I've heard many other people say to get started in carnivore, do what you need to do to build the habits to start the healing process. As you get better, start winnowing away the superfluous things. It means be the same thing if you were to do a keto. What's that?
I said that was a word. Sorry.
Okay.
Superfluous. Yeah.
Let the things go that you can as you go along, right? And focus on the important part. Like stop cooking with seed oils. Try to eliminate using foods that have barcodes and more than 3 ingredients in them. If you're going to do a whey protein, look for one that isn't just chopped up with all the oses, the different sugars, because that will perpetuate the problem in your brain and in the pleasure centers and the dopamine response, because you're still getting the sweet. So, but if that's what you can do to get started, then by all means do it, but have some defined off-roads, like, hey, in a week I'm gonna try something else. I'm gonna bring in some maybe some hamburger that you season up into like a sausage on your own, right? You can do that. Try to bring things on board as you can and get to a better place. But don't feel like I can't start. Get going, get rolling, then adapt and overcome as you go down that road.
Yeah, and you may find that you don't want to eat breakfast here pretty soon. Because I don't know if it happens for everybody, but sometimes I eat only one meal a day, and that's at dinner time. I started out with breakfast, but for me it was all hamburger, because as a vegan, I struggled with meat in general. But eventually, I don't even want to eat breakfast. I don't touch food until well after lunchtime, sometimes 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And that happened rather quickly. And I hear it happens to a lot of people. So you may not even really have to trudge through that bridge too long. It may be short-lived.
I would say, so you want to remove all sweeteners from your diet if you can, because sweeteners will make you crave sweets. That's the only way to get rid of them, is to remove them completely. And it's got to be all natural and artificial sweeteners. Unfortunately, that's the hard road, but it only takes 4 to 6 weeks max, and they'll be gone. You'll never miss them. People put ice cream in front of you, you won't want to eat it. It's pretty amazing. It's an amazing transformation. So that's one thing. So I would say, and also I would go for like an egg powder or beef protein if you could. And there's also chopples. I don't know if you've heard about cheese waffles. that might be a good option for you too to take a look at. There's a lot of videos on how to make chaffles, and that might be a better option. Mitch, you got something?
Yeah, Mitch always has something.
That's why you're here.
I tried the chaffles, and I just wanted. Usually, you make them with mozzarella, which is a skim cheese, and that is going to introduce a little sugar. And I have 2 waffle makers now, chaffle makers that I haven't used in a year. I agree with everybody in the fact that breakfast almost doesn't exist in the carnivore, in people who have been carnivores for a couple of months or more. Breakfast just falls by the wayside. I can't remember the last time that I said, I need food in the morning. Every one of us settles in to our own routine because we're all slightly different, but we are all still biologically human beings with more similarities than differences. And it seems that in the community of carnivores, if you listen, nobody talks about what did I have for breakfast. Breakfast is a construct that was invented by John Harvey Kellogg. And you know, if you study in the carnivore space for a while and you study the history of where all of this ridiculous advice that the doctors and everybody else gives these days about nutrition comes from, you'll find out that John Harvey Kellogg in the late 1800s and the early 1900s was a major player with his sanitarium in Battle Creek, Michigan, and his invention of cornflakes and breakfast cereals. He's the guy that coined the phrase, breakfast is the most important meal of the day. That came from John Harvey Kellogg and his brother.
Marketing.
So, yeah, it's all marketing. Yeah. It's all marketing.
All marketing.
The whole purpose, and I hope this isn't a little too risque for this live stream, but the purpose of breakfast cereals was to keep men from eating meat because meat gave them sinful thoughts and caused them to masturbate. That was the reason why breakfast cereals were invented. And if you look up the history of John Harvey Kellogg anywhere on Google, that's one of the prominent messages you'll see is the why he invented breakfast cereals. So anything that resembles a waffle, anything that resembles a pastry, anything is not food. Even if it's made with whey protein, it has to have other ingredients. So what people do is they mix all kinds of other things in with these waffles. And those are the very things that perpetuate the addictions that we all have.
Yes.
So you'd be best if you could figure out a way to give them up. I hate eggs too. Okay. I do not like eggs. If you put a soft-boiled egg or a runny egg in front of me, I will run like hell. But I did discover early on that if somebody took an egg and cooked it to the point where you could use it as a speed bump in the parking lot, it was that hard. I could eat it and I enjoyed it. So I make myself well-done omelets, and I've been doing that all my life. And right now I eat 4 to 6 eggs every day. I eat a half a pound of bacon every day, and I eat a pound or a pound and a half of beef every day. And that's all I eat, with an occasional chicken or fish thrown in once a week. But that's my diet. I eat my first meal at 12 to 1 o'clock. I eat my second meal at 3 to 4 o'clock. So I do intermittent fasting 19 to 20 hours a day. And if anybody had told me that I wouldn't be getting bored just eating bacon, eggs, and beef, I would have told them they were crazy. I don't want anything else now. It's the funniest thing. I look forward to that food. Yeah. Like I used to look forward to ice cream. Your entire physiology will change if you can get over that first month. If you can figure out some way to eat eggs, they're some of the best things you can eat. They're perfect nutrition. Dr. Burry says that they're like the nature's multivitamin. They have everything in there.
Yep. Especially the yolk.
Especially the yolk.
The yolk. That's like organ meat. I mean, it's got everything you need.
Everything. It's got everything that is necessary to build a living chicken. Okay.
Yeah.
And I tell people that I say everything that a living chicken needs not only is inside that egg, but it's inside that egg in exactly the perfect proportions.
Exactly.
So you don't need to figure anything out. You don't need to say, well, how much fat's in there? How much protein's in there? How much of this mineral or that mineral or this amino acid or that. You don't have to worry about it. It is nature's multivitamin tablet. And I think that that's one of the reasons why I'm not a real advocate of the lion diet. I think that eggs are kind of like a safety backup to make sure you really are getting all the nutrients that you need.
Yeah, I think the BBBE is probably the best option to start. I mean, although the lion diet did help you, but BBBE is bacon, beef, egg, and what am I missing?
Butter.
Butter.
Beef, butter, bacon.
I still do butter. I still do butter, and I do bacon occasionally. So I would like to do this. You say you don't enjoy breakfast, right? So another thing that I've come to realize is that I no longer look at dining as an entertainment at all. It's more like a biological function now. It's like going to the bathroom. You just get it out of the way so you can do stuff that's more interesting. And that's going to be a psychological and a physiological change. Like these guys said, you don't even eat breakfast after a while because you don't. Like I had breakfast with my son. That was a social thing. That was very much, I wanted to sit down with my son and have breakfast. That was something I did to be with him and enjoy the morning. The other thing is, if you want to know about the Kellogg too, and you don't want to read it, there's a documentary called Fat, a documentary where they go into the Seventh-day Adventist and the John Kellogg link to breakfast and how all the carbohydrates and the dextrization of sugars all came to be. So that's really good. That documentary, I have a video on my channel where I review that movie from a carnivore standpoint. Scott, did you have something else you wanted to add in? I thought I saw you raise your hand.
Oh, I was just going to say what he said is that when we eat naturally packaged foods, we get them in the natural order that we should have them in. Some people get too crazy when putting certain proteins into their diet, and those proteins have got to be in the right ratio to other proteins. And here's just one epiphany I had today. Can someone point out an essential carbohydrate?
No, there's none. Yeah, there's no such thing.
So
you
you
can live
need
without
essential fats, you need essential proteins, but there are no essential carbohydrates.
Nope. I served in an Arctic unit, and we used to go to the Arctic Circle, and it was a medical unit, so we used to actually practice treating the Inuit, give them shots and stuff, and they don't eat carbohydrates. They eat almost zero. I mean, what they eat is caribou during the summer, and in the winter, they eat whatever they can get, which is fish and seal, and they'll eat caribou and bear and fox and rabbit, whatever they can get up there, but they don't eat carbs, and they are totally healthy.
Have you done any reading on Dr. Stefansson back in the late
1900s? That's in that video too, the Fat documentary, where they talk about even the Bellevue study, which they actually locked him in a hospital because no one believed him when he came back and said he survived with no vegetables for a year and came back healthier than he'd ever been. So he was an Arctic explorer. In 1906, he got stuck up there. That's another one to watch. So you can definitely check out my video on my channel. I do a little review of it, and the reason I'm reviewing these movies because I'm reviewing from a carnivore point of view, and they're documentaries, but that way you can share them with family members or friends that might be curious or might be objecting, and say, hey, and you'll know which videos are probably best to give to other people to look at. So I reviewed 4 movies so far. I'm going to continue that series. So we have another question up, and whoever wants to take it. I've only been drinking Diet Pepsi for years with hardly any water. I'm off soda for over 2 weeks. Congratulations, that's fantastic. But I don't find that water quenches my thirst. Does this just take time? Who would like to take this one? I can start.
Don't all jump at once.
I'll start because I was a Diet Coke guy. And I mean, I can tell you, at first, so you might want to up your game with water too. You might want to get mineral water and get both sparkling and still water. I drink something called Liquid Death, which is great marketing for still water from the Alps. And it is the best tasting, the most satisfying water. And listen, different waters do taste differently, I guarantee you. And mineral waters actually have a lot of the minerals that we need. Our ancestors would drink stream water, pond water. They would not drink filtered water, and definitely not reprocessed water like we get here in the city with fluoride added stuff. So expand your waters, add sparkling waters, the sparkling mineral waters. I have a Texas sparkling mineral water I buy, and I have a Topo Chico, which is a Mexican one. And I like those. So they give you a little bit of the bubbly too. I don't know if it's good for me, but my body's not responding badly. So, but I do like the minerals I get out of it. And I barely take any supplements now because I take a little magnesium every now and then as needed. And I used to take salt when I started the diet, but I just salt my food now. And I just drink mineral water. And that's really all I take. And then iodine. I do take some iodine because we normally would get that from the animals that we eat. If you're eating a lot of fish, you probably don't need to take any. But if you're eating cattle, it just depends where they graze, and we have no idea where those cattle are grazing, or if they're getting enough iodine, because we don't know what the soil content is or where they came from. The closer to the coast, the more iodine apparently they have. So we just don't know. So I do take iodine. Anyone else want to follow on this?
Well, I know I was a soda drinker myself, and for me, it was more of the carbonation, although I've seen a lot of questions in the chat here talking about some people were saying that it wasn't the carbonation, it was the flavor. I personally started adding electrolytes to my Topo Chico, which is what and I did recently start with the death water or whatever it was I found. They had a carbonation.
Liquid death.
I was adding originally Propel, the little zero, I'm talking about the electrolyte packets into my water. But the problem I have with that is it tastes so good that my husband was drinking it all. So I ended up.
It's sweet too. It's sweet.
So I ended up doing Element which is salty, and he doesn't like that. And I got used to it. So to me, it tastes really good. And I add it to the carbonated water, and it gives me that flavor. It quenches my thirst, and it's giving me the minerals and everything that I need. So that worked really well for me if you are struggling with the soda. And even my husband says, I can't speak currently, says that the Propel in the mineral water tastes really good. It tastes like a fruity type soda. So you might try that if you're having a hard time with that.
You may find yourself having sweet cravings at night, though, as long as you keep that up, because that is an artificial sweetener. And again, the best practice in carnivore is to remove all sweeteners. So and that includes LMNT. Yeah, so I did. Listen, I would get around 6 p.m., I'd start doing laps around the kitchen looking for something to get. And not even just sweet, just something to eat. I'd start like, okay, what can I go? I go to the pantry, go to the fridge. I don't do that anymore. My cravings, not just for sweet, but for anything, have gone. And that I attribute to cutting out all sweeteners, sugar and artificial.
Yeah, if you're an addict, if you're a carb addict like that, the artificial sweeteners are a downfall. Now, I'll use myself as an example here. I don't think there's any more addicted person to carbs than I was, but I take this San Pellegrino stuff, which is a bubbly mineral water, and it makes me feel special because it's in a fancy bottle and it comes from Italy, so and I use an electrolyte mix that has a small amount of stevia in it, and it's not really, and I dilute it basically twice what you're supposed to, so you don't get a really strong flavor, but it does at least hide the salty taste of all the mineral salts that are in it. And I got a big thermos jug, one of those things that all the runners carry around with them, and I mix that up once a day. A big electrolyte, throw a bunch of ice in it, and I like the bite of the carbonated water. I like the slightly sweet taste, and I found that it triggers no cravings at all in me, and none, because if it did, I would stop it in a second. But I find that I enjoy it, and I take like you, Larry, Lugol's 2%, 1 drop in my morning coffee. I still drink coffee. I know it's not supposedly pure carnivore, but at my age,
I reintroduced it.
I'm going to have my coffee. I tried cutting it out for a month, and I didn't notice any difference. And I just enjoy a cup of coffee in the morning. It's a ritual, sitting there sipping on it.
Sure.
And I take.
We're all military, so we all kind of do that. So.
and like you, I take about 400 milligrams of magnesium every day.
Yeah.
and 1 scoop of the electrolyte powder in my water and the iodine, and that's it. I take nothing, nothing else. Everything else that I need, evidently, is in the food.
Yeah, I would definitely stay away from Propel because that's way too sweet. I've had that before when I was carnivore, when I was keto, and that is super sweet. So I would definitely go towards LMNT or possibly the Redmond version, which is Relight, I think it is, RELYTE.
Yeah.
And Relight's cheaper than LMNT. I know that. Neither one's cheap. You could just put salt in water too. You can just do that. So this is the question that you've already answered some of it. What supplements are you taking? So here's the deal. This whole supplement idea, our ancestors didn't take any supplements. The Inuit up in the Arctic Circle don't take any supplements. The Maasai in Africa don't take any supplements. So if you're eating the proper food, you don't need supplements. We need supplements when we're eating a 72% vegetation, man-made, whatever this monstrosity of food is, because our body, a lot of the stuff, yes, avocado has vitamins and stuff, but it's not bioavailable to us because we don't have the gut bacteria designed for that. Where meat, I digest almost everything I eat, and it breaks down to all the vitamins you need. I know because my blood work's perfect. I mean, what about you guys? What do you think?
I agree 100%. And I heard you mention, and I know we always finally get around to the bathroom talk because it's just something that you have to talk about on this. Number one, it's the best gauge of whether you have a proper fat intake or not. In fact, it is the gauge of that. And for those people that don't know, if you're plugged up, you have not enough fat. If you have the opposite of plugged up, you're eating too much fat. And that's just a great way to gauge. Another thing that absolutely panics and panicked me in the beginning was you don't go. I was gone between 5 and 7 days between. And I thought I had a blockage. I thought, what the hell is wrong? I mean, I didn't feel any like bloated or anything, but I said, what is going on? And then I finally learned that when you eat all this nourishing food, none of it gets down to your large intestine. By the time it gets through the small intestines, it is completely dissolved. This wives' tale about 20 pounds of undigested red meat in your colon that you heard is so much nonsense. It can't happen. It can't happen. It's just another one of those things that the vegetarians invented to scare people away from eating the food that we're supposed to eat. And I've settled into every 2 to 4 days now, and I have been like that for like 8 months. And the first time in my life that I have actually had a normal operating bowel. I never had that. And I think most people today don't either. And fiber is the worst thing that you could eat for your digestive health. And it's the reason that there are so many diseases. And then there's the whole crew that talks about the microbiome. If you just eat the right foods, your microbiome will balance itself out and you'll have exactly the bacteria down there that you need to do the job that they need to do. They're
right, but it happens to be the right meat. The right food is meat. And if you do that, then they're correct. That's Absolutely. A true statement if you actually eat the right food. Okay, we've got a question for Katerina. How's it going on the weight loss?
There's a story. There's a video that I have to post because I derailed myself slightly because of dairy. But I have a total of 30 pounds now in a little over a month that I've been doing it.
Fantastic.
I have a video that I actually was trying to edit and it whooped my butt. So I'm still working on that. But I started dairy more than I should have. And I started having reoccurring migraines and bloating and just horribleness. And it stalled my weight loss as well. So that stuff's got to go for sure. Unfortunately, I was hoping that it would be okay for me, but it wasn't. So it's a work in progress. I didn't do the carnivore diet to lose weight. It just happens to be happening. And I mean, I'm still pretty happy with 30 pounds in a month. So I have another 60 to go though. So, stay tuned because it's got to go. I'm evicting
Nice.
soon.
So we've got about 120 guests right now. So between 118 and 120. So we're really rocking. It's great. And Carnivore Backwoods just joined and said hi and gave us a 99-cent. He says, "Oh yeah." So we got a little bumper sticker. I got a sticker. Question for Mitch.
Yes. It's one of my guys. I recognize all of my guys in the chat, and I want to, if I can, just thank everybody that came over from some of my regular viewers to watch these guys and get introduced to some new people. And I would heartily recommend that you subscribe to their channels as well, because these guys, and the reason I'm here with them is because I've watched their videos and I haven't heard anything that I don't agree with. And not that that's a necessity that they agree with me, but some people out there are spouting some stuff that's just dangerous to hear. And I certainly don't want to lend anything to a live stream like that. But these guys put out good stuff, and if I can go so far as to endorse something, I'll do that. Desanya is one of my guys. I'm doing a roast tomorrow and going to try to I'll become Martha Stewart, Larry.
I know. Yeah. I see you. I watch you.
I'm like
pretty good in the kitchen, bro.
I'm trying to talk to these people about the biology and the history of why this is the thing to do, and all they want to do is see me flip hamburgers. I'm doing a roast tomorrow and going to try a reverse sear like you demoed tomorrow. Wish me luck. For the host will follow you as well. There you go. And the other guy.
Great.
The other guy's Scott.
Yeah, Carnivore Scott.
Yeah.
So I actually have a smoked reverse sear steak recipe, not a roast, but it's a steak. And that's where I learned this from Cooper's Barbecue in Llano, Texas, where you smoke a steak till it gets up to about 100 degrees, and then you do a reverse sear on it. And it's amazing. So just might want to try that. You can check my video on my channel. We got another question or another statement here about you, Mitch.
Another one. I love them all.
Old Guy Carnival is the example. This is awesome. They're using you as an example.
Oh, great. Well, that's the main reason that I thought there might be a place for me on YouTube, believe it or not. My first inclination was to say the last thing we need is another carnivore thing on YouTube. But I said, I don't see anybody that's anywhere near my age out there doing this. And maybe some of the people that are older will look at what happened to me. And I make no bones about that, about the improvements and the rebirth of physical and mental rebirth that I've had on this way of eating, and gain some motivation from that. And it appears that I was right. It's a lot of work though, Larry. I heard you talk about how much work it is to actually run one of these channels, and it is a lot of work.
It's a passion project. I mean, for me, I imagine you guys all too. I know Mitch it is for you, but I imagine Scott and Katrina, it's a passion project, right? So, hey, we got Carnivore Backwoods. Also, he's a great YouTuber, a homesteader, got a great channel, has a lot of good information. I've done some shows with him. He's done some shows with me. And definitely check out Carnivore Backwoods. He's a pretty cool dude and knowledgeable. Okay, we got Arthur Franzarello. Hey,
that's my boy, like Fonz. Yeah. Can I say one? I want to say one. I want to say one thing that was very encouraging to me. As you all know, most of the people in our space know about this little kerfuffle we had with Dr. Berg and the the thoughts about the fact that the carnivores are being systematically worked against by YouTube to annihilate us. Well, I don't think I did a video where I said I don't think that's really what's happening, and I got a comment on one of my videos today from a lady who basically said, I just found, this is what she said, I just found your channel. It popped up in my recommended feed because I have been watching some carnivore videos. Okay. So YouTube keyed on the
Still
fact
feeding
that she was interested in carnivore videos and started recommending other carnivore channels to her. Now that to me is a good sign. And I was so happy to see that, because that means that, no, I don't think that it's as bad as a lot of people think it is. Yeah, there's still a bias against eating meat, but I still think we've got a way to go on YouTube before they basically just ban all of us. So that's good news.
Yeah, I kind of think it's geared towards medical advice from doctors that go counter to medical advice from the WHO, where we're just vlogging our experience, right? And that's a little different. So I think it might be a little different too. Mitch, do you have butter in your diet?
Yes,
Me too.
I don't eat butter per se, but I cook everything in butter. I
eat it.
I don't
slice
eat
it off for a snack. When I go to bed.
I never ate butter on a piece of bread in my life. I was not a butter guy, but I just love to cook with it. And I sear all my meat in it. I throw it in everything. So, but what I eat between the bacon and eggs, you get so much fat when you eat half a pound of bacon and a half a dozen eggs. You get a ton of fat. So I don't find I need to be adding fat to my diet as long as I'm eating that amount of fat. But I do like the taste of it when you sear meat in it. And I go through, I use the Curry Gold stuff, which I think is the standard carnivore butter. It's amazing how a single product kind of gets adopted as the best, but it's good. It's good butter. So yes,
I get Costco butter. Yeah, that's what I use. So Scott's got something to talk about with supplements, right? Go ahead, Scott.
I want to say, if we're going to look at the Inuit and the Maasai tribe, right? Mm-hmm. Let us also consider the Inuits have a delicacy where they take fish heads and they stuff it in a seal stomach or a seal skin, and they let it ferment for 4 to 6 weeks, and then they all stand around eating the fermented fish heads. All right. So there's a lot of stuff in there that's really good. The Maasai, they drink a lot of blood. All right. Mm-hmm. So I think oftentimes, and carnivores are better than many others, but if all you're going to eat is muscle meat and some of the fat and you don't eat anything else, because we know the fat has a lot of A, K, D, and E in it, right? So we do get some nutritional supplementation. We're missing some when we don't eat the sweet meats and stuff like that. I mean, the lungs, the brain, the kidneys, things like that. You can grind it up in your burger. But I do believe that for people who are very unhealthy, coming from particularly for some women who may have a lot of bone loss, they may have a lot of the hormonal challenges. It may be worth the while in the early days to do a good supplement that's not full of fillers and things like that. And I would hate for someone to sit there and say, hey, I went in, I ate the 80-20 hamburger until my eyes popped for 6 months and I didn't get healed because there's that deficiency in iodine or et cetera. So that's a cautionary tale. If we're going to talk part of somebody's life, then we probably should bring in more of it.
Yeah, I would say, ancestrally, hunters didn't have block and tackle to drain blood. So if they killed something, they would eat it while it was down a lot of times. They wouldn't drain it. And also, when you eat the liver, even if you do drain it, the liver has a lot of blood even now. In fact, to make something, what do they call it? What do the Jewish people call it when they make food that's appropriate for eating? They have to drain the blood, so they have a certain way of preparing liver to make it to where they can eat it religiously because it does have blood in it. So that's probably one of the reasons it has a lot of the vitamins and such that we need too. So I think like if you believe that someone killed a mastodon, they're not going to raise it up on a tree and drain it, right? They're just going to eat it in place. Or if they're going to go after a lion kill, they're going to eat whatever the scavenger left. So
kosher is the word you were looking for.
Kosher, that's what I was looking for. Yes, kosher. There's a way to prepare liver kosher. Yes.
And just to interject, the Air Force guy is going against the grain here. All right. I do drink coffee, and I use one sweetener. I use saccharin, and
Ooh, yuck.
Ooh.
well, I grew up on that with Tab soda. All right.
I remember
like,
Tab. Oh my
I
gosh,
do too,
that's the worst soda ever.
But that's what we drank back in the day.
But here's what I'll tell you. If that one little sweetener pill on 1 or 2 cups of the coffee a day, I don't do them in everyone. If that keeps me from everything else,
right,
then I'll take that bullet. All right. Because I am so prone to going ape crazy.
Yeah.
I'll demolish a thing of cookies, right? And then I'll spread butter over every cookie and eat half a pound of butter. So, I mean, I'll take that hit. But I want to be honest. I still do the coffee, and I still do the little saccharin pill.
Well, this is where you have to become self-aware. You have to become the subject matter expert on your body and how it reacts, because everyone's going to have a little different journey. For me, I can't do that because I will start craving at 6 p.m. I guarantee it. So everyone has to know, you're going to become the expert on you, and no doctor can tell you, and no YouTuber can tell you. You're just going to have to figure that out as part of your self-discovery, as part of building resilience. Because resilience is identifying your strengths and weaknesses and being realistic about them, and then approaching it the right way. And when you get knocked down, getting back up. That's part of it. I learned that in the military. I think everyone needs to learn that. That's part of this process. This is, you have to hone your skill as a carnivore. Anyone else want to jump in?
Well
Let's
said.
see.
We have a question about eyesight.
Yeah, eyesight. So who wants to take this? Anyone? My eyes have not gotten better yet, but maybe someone else's have.
Mine have.
Okay, let's put Mitch. Let's give us some hope, because you're ahead of me. So maybe in the next 12 months, mine will be better.
Well, what happened? Mine were I've had more years for my eyes to get worse than all you guys, and they were, and I was developing a cataract on my left eye, but that's clearing up actually, and the cataract really screws with your prescription, and I got new glasses earlier this year, and I had eye floaters, and they've pretty much gone away. I miss my little friends that used to come visit me, but they're pretty well gone. And I found when I got my last prescription that it was actually weaker than the one previous. And I'm at a point right now where about 8 months later, I'm ready to go back and get a new prescription, because I go out in the world and I'm looking through these glasses, which are only 8 months old, and I feel like I'm having some eye strain, and I take them off and everything gets clear. Okay. Again, I don't need as strong a prescription. Unfortunately, I need what they call prism correction. Any of you guys know what that is? It's where one of your eyes sees a little higher than the other. So when I take my glasses off, I see 2 of everything, one on top of itself. And it takes a while. My brain does compensate, but I'm much better off with the glasses. And I have an astigmatism in one eye, which I need correction for. But the actual prescription, the actual amount of magnification I need is actually getting better. And I can see better now without glasses than I have in 20 years. So, if I can give the Carnivore Diet credit for that, I'll do it. I can't think of any other reason why my eyes would be getting better.
I can tell you why.
I'm listening.
Okay.
So for those of us who are blessed with excess adiposity and it's in our cranial cavity, what happens is you're putting forces on your eyes, and the way your eye works, right, with your corneal lens, your eye, the muscles flex around it to bend it to give you your short to your long distance. Now that's how it shortens the distance between the cornea and your retina. So so a lot of our children today who have their iPads straight up to their face or their phones, they're getting really, really bad vision because the eyes are actually becoming like eggs. they're not even round anymore. They're a lot elongated. So that's how, because when you bring it closer, you have to move that lens a little further away from the retina. So by losing the extra fat, I was just listening to Robert Bubba Baker and some other people noticing that, hey, their hats had to be cinched down because you lose some weight. You know, I got this great big old peanut head, but for a long time it just looked like a pumpkin. So as I lose body fat from my head and around my jawline and everything, I mean, we see it here. We all talk about it here, but it's going on. It's going everywhere, and so there's less pressure because you got fixed points with your eye sockets. So just by the fact that we're giving our eyes more room to expand into without all that ectopic fat and subcutaneous fat, I think could really make a difference, because you're not talking quarter of an inch tolerance within your eye. You're talking millimeter, fractions of millimeters. Could be.
Yeah, and then inflammation could be part of it too. I mean, your whole body's inflamed, right? So we got another question coming in. Are MREs healthy? No. They are definitely not. But I did do a video on how to do a ketovore MRE in the field, because I know there's troops out there. I have active duty troops coming to me saying, hey, I'm carnivore. I'm going to the field for an FTX. How do I do it? And I picked out 3 or 4 MREs that you can get the main entree from. And then, of course, cheese, which is going to have processed oils, but at least it's low carb. And then things you can bring to add to your MREs in the field. So you can get the tuna and squeeze ghee into it, because ghee's shelf stable, that kind of stuff. So check out my MRE video. I do go over that. And there's a link. There's a link to a document that has links to all the things I talk about if you want to buy stuff for your MREs. So MREs are terrible, though. They're awful.
I used to take my MRE ham slices and with the eggs, and I pan fry them. And you can always find onions. And I go to the dining facility. I get some onions and butter. And I remember one morning I was in Hungary for operations in Bosnia, and I'm cooking about 4 o'clock in the morning, and in walks the commanding general, and he lost his mind by the time I'm making breakfast to sue me, you know. But it was pretty good. But I ate a lot of ham slices with the eggs.
That's not available anymore on the MRE menu. I do have a link to what is. So there's two menus out there, 2018, 2019, and then there's some other ones. So I have a link to the actual, it's called Comrade, which is the page that tells you all the nutritional value of each MRE and what's available in each menu. So that's kind of one of the things I add. So we got another question. Anyone can take this.
I ate sea rats when I was a kid, so I know what those are.
I know C-Rats. Okay, today is 2 weeks away from my 90 days. My A1C was 5.8 when I started on July 7th. It is now 6.0. I don't understand why I'm not better.
Wow. All right, I'll jump in here.
Go ahead. Okay.
That's not uncommon. I've heard a lot, especially watching Dr. Burry's live streams. I've heard that question asked many, many, many times, and there's an explanation running around in the carnivore community that comes from, I think it's Ben Bickman or Paul Mason or one of these really genius researchers and doctors that truly understand that stuff. And I've heard people that disagree with it, but here's what they're saying. They're saying, if you understand what A1C is how much sugar has glommed itself on to your red blood cells. And it's a way of gauging what your average blood sugar is. In other words, if your blood sugar spends more time higher, then more sugar molecules will actually attach themselves to the red cells. And since they know that the lifespan of a red blood cell is 2 to 3 months, they can tell by measuring the amount of sugar attached to the red cells pretty much what your average blood sugar was over the last 2 to 3 months. And because your blood sugar fluctuates by the second, and a lot of times when you take these blood tests, if you took the same blood test 10 minutes later, it would come out wildly different, because all of these things, especially lipids, are always in flux. Your body's always regulating the flow of this, that, and the other thing. So what happens when you start to get healthy is your blood cells don't die as quick. they live longer. Okay.
Hmm.
If your blood cells live longer, they have more time to be exposed to whatever sugar you have in your blood. And therefore, they'll have more sugar glommed onto them when they take the measurement. So the measurement is based on the average lifespan of a red blood cell. But apparently, according to some of these rocket scientists that we have, blood cells can live 20% longer. And in that case, the A1C is going to be higher. If it was me, I wouldn't worry about that difference. If it went from 5.8 to 13, I'd say, holy cow, what's wrong? And in that case, the answer would probably be a bad test. They had something wrong with the test. But 5.8 to 6, wait till your next A1C and see what happens. And, if you're not eating any sugar, if you're indeed not eating any sugar, and you're not also, if you're not eating too much protein,
artificial sweeteners.
Yeah. And you're not eating too much protein either, because that's another thing that happens to carnivores. Sometimes they don't eat enough fat. They eat too much protein. And there's a process. We all know the term gluconeogenesis. Everybody who's a carnivore is familiar with that. And that's why we don't have any requirements for exogenous carbohydrates. We don't need to eat carbs. We make all the carbs that we might ever need. And what we make carbs out of primarily is the glycerol backbone of a triglyceride molecule when it's split up. And we got plenty of those. That's fat. So we take the glycerol, which is like sugar. We take the glycerol backbone that holds the 3 fat molecules and makes a triglyceride, and that's stripped off and it goes into the liver, and the liver converts it to glucose, and we get all the glucose we need. But if you're eating too much protein, your own body could generate too much sugar and effectively raise your A1C. So that's the I don't want to say non-technical answer, but that's hopefully to make you feel better and not worry too much about it and wait and see what your next blood test is. But look, are you losing weight? Do you feel better? Look at everything in context, I would say.
Yeah, I would also say, because that's the first thing that came to my question. If someone asked me this question, I would say, what, you've been 2 weeks away from 90 days of what exactly? What are you eating? Are you eating dairy? There's things you can do to tune your body. And this is the point when you're at 90 days, that's the point you can start really experimenting and finding out how your body reacts to things, reintroducing things, eliminating other things like Katerina did with her dairy. That turned out not be a great idea. So it happens to all of us. So this is something we can do. Okay. And it's a part of honing your skill as a carnivore, right? Varicose veins, I can't speak to this because don't have them. So anyone? Oh, here we go. All right, we got a varicose vein. This is a great panel. We have a lot of good answers here.
We got every disease known to man represented here.
And woman.
I was mankind.
I know, mankind. I know. I'm teasing you. All right, Scott.
Oh, I can't hear him.
You're muted. Are you muted?
Because I was muted. That's why. Isn't that a wonderful thing? Yeah. Thank you. The issue there is, my understanding is only an N of 1. I went. I got a test done at the VA because I had so much swelling in my lower extremities. I had a lot of edema, like grade 3, grade 4. Basically, if you push your finger into my shin bone, it's like the Pillsbury Doughboy, and so quite painful. And they told me they did a check for the valves in my veins, and they basically said using a Valsalva motion, i.e., you try to hold your breath and then breathe out. Anyway, what was happening was the valves of my legs don't close; they stay open. So then the blood pools and everything pools. So I said I had bad valves, and everybody else corrected me and said you have varicose veins. So the issue with my varicose veins up till at least now have been well insulated by my blessed adiposity. So what I'm going to probably find out is as my legs lean out, I'll probably show up that I have a varicose vein condition. But my hope is that, and I have those sexy socks you get to wear all the time.
Nice. The black ones.
Oh, I have the black and beige and white, so I can change up. They
Sweet.
work, but they make my toes not be so good because they made them. I felt like I maybe like a lady does wearing high heels. Your toes get all squished together, and I've got hobbit feet as it is, so no bueno. But I suspect that as I lose some more weight on my legs, I'll find out, and I'll have those classic varicose vein signatures, and maybe what will happen is through this wonders of a carnivorous diet and getting rid of all the other stuff and doing some exercise and getting the lymph to move around my system from not being sedentary, being willing, wanting, and desiring to move. Maybe that we'll see some resolution, but I do have a baseline of some testing, I guess, what they use, like ultrasound testing. So at least I'll have a baseline to say, hey, well, I might have, but I don't now.
All right, next one's for me. Larry, how many miles do you walk? Or how long time-wise do you walk? I do miles with your weighted vest. And in case you don't know, I have a weighted vest that I had for when I was active duty. When we used to wear IBA, people in the Army probably know this, you wear your armor, you wear your hydration system, you wear your ammo, your comm gear, all that stuff. And it's about 60 pounds, I guess, around. So I wear a 40-pound weighted vest. It feels a lot, very comfortable, very much like that. And it's actually, since I've lost 45 pounds, it's kind of what I used to weigh, right? So when I go hiking, it's hard to believe because when I take that thing off, oh my gosh, you know, when you take your armor off, it's like, holy cow, I feel like Superman. But this armor or this vest I wear is 40 pounds. And I usually do 2 miles. I do a mile up and a mile back. Sometimes I do 4. It just depends on the day and if I have time, because I do it in the morning. I like to watch the sunrise, and I don't like the heat. So I like to go early. I've had enough heat in my life. I don't need more heat. So I do the morning, and I like to catch the sunrise. So I'll usually do 2 miles, but sometimes 4. Well, guys, it's been an hour and 27 minutes. We still have 115 people on here. Holy cow. This is crazy. Do you guys feel like it's still going on, or do you think we should wind this down? Because I can go either way. It doesn't matter to me.
It's up to you.
All right. What do you guys think in the crowd? Anyone have any more questions you want? Because if you don't have questions, I mean, we could talk about a couple more things, I guess. I've got a couple questions. Let me ask this of our guests. What are your greatest non-scale victories to date? What's your greatest non-scale victory?
How long have you got?
Just pick one. Just do the one that you are the most grateful for. Who wants to go first on this? Anyone?
Wow.
Mitch?
I'll go. I have to think about it a little bit. The greatest victory. There's been so many miraculous things. I mean, I never, ever would have thought that at my age, number one, that I would ever weigh 138 pounds again, because I was always between 160 and 210 my whole life. My goal weight when I started this carnivore thing, I figured if I get below 160 and can settle in around 150, 155, I would be very happy. And my body had a different idea. And that's why I've come up with a philosophy that when you do this, the thing at the bottom of your list ought to be how much weight you lose, because the weight loss is a beneficial side effect of returning your body to the healthiest state you've ever had. And the weight will normalize and will end up exactly where it needs to be, and probably not a pound more or a pound less. You're never going to get too skinny. And people tell me, they see me now and they say, God, you got so skinny, you're too skinny. And I joke with them. I say, you know, the old adage, you can't be too thin or too rich. You know, I mean, no, I'm not too skinny. I still have 14, 15% body fat, and I've put on a lot of muscle, but 138, 139 is where it stopped. And I'm absolutely fine with that. I've never been this thin in my entire life, but I didn't do it on purpose. I didn't watch the scale. I think the biggest mistake that so many people who go on this diet do, and I have a video about my advice to start the first 30 days of a diet, and every one of us has a video like that and gives our advice, and our advice may be all different, but it's generally all correct. It's just some of us emphasize certain things more than others. I think that if you start this diet and you focus on the scale, you're not going to make it. You're not going to make it. I say to people, I yell at them, I say, just the first 30 days, throw the scale away, hide it, put it in the basement, do something with it. Do not step on the scale. It doesn't matter how much weight you lose in the first 30 days. What matters is if you get your body chemistry going in the right direction to convert you from a sugar burner to a fat burner. And once you do that, the weight will take care of itself afterwards. But too many people, including my own children, get on the scale and get disgusted. Oh, I should have lost weight by now. And I did. So this doesn't work. You can't do that. So I think the weight loss for me is probably the biggest surprise. Whether it's the most important thing. No, it's not the most important thing, but it is the biggest surprise that I had, is that I didn't have to manage my weight loss as if there was anything I could have done to make me lose weight faster or slower. We have no control over that. All we can do is eat the right food and let our body do what it's going to do. The most profound thing for me was feeling like a 30-year-old again, physically, in a 76-year-old body, and having my brain start to work again like it used to, because I came out of a 10-year funk before this, of feeling useless and old and worthless and tired and irrelevant and down most of the time. And I feel like a kid right now, right out of college, eager to take the world on. And that, I think, without a doubt, the most profound thing that's happened to me.
I agree with that. And I'm going to jump on real quick before I let the next person go, because I just want to say that I was a plans officer in the G6 from the Army. So I used to do a lot of planning. So planning is like my thing, my wheelhouse. And I tell people that when they're starting this, your why can't be 15 pounds, because that's not big enough. And every diet you've done in the past, you quit because that was your why. Your why, this has so much more to offer than just weight loss. Your why has to be transforming your life. My why is not to end up dying in 10 years like my mom did, not becoming sick like my dad is, to be there for my son when he graduates college, gets married, and to hold my grandchild someday. That's my why. That's huge. That you won't quit on. 15 pounds, you'll quit. So Mitch is absolutely right. Can't be about weight. Weight will just happen. And that's a side effect. And that can be a goal, but it can't be your why, right? So who wants to go next?
I can.
Okay, Katerina.
I have a couple. I have a frivolous one and some what I consider to be monumental ones. And of course, the most, to me, startling is my mental health, my erasing of the anxiety and the panic attacks and the just dark, depressive cloud that I was under for so long and couldn't get out from. And that went away. It melted amazingly. I don't even know how to describe it. Also, the pain. I was in so much pain. I have a back injury from the Army. I am a disabled veteran, and I thought that was just my lot in life. That's what I was going to have to deal with, along with the knees and the neck and everything else. But until I messed up with the dairy, I wasn't having the pain and the migraines, and I couldn't walk. I was on a walker for a while, and I'm not doing that anymore. I'm leaving the house without that. So those are my big things. But my frivolous thing is that my shoes fit.
Hey.
I had all these shoes. I'm a woman, right? So, you expect that. But I thought that like my feet grew or something, but I can put shoes on and they don't hurt my feet anymore. And I just think that's just one of the greatest things. But it's a frivolous thing, but it is definitely something that So
No, thanks for sharing. That's really, I mean, a lot of women out there are right where you're at, I'm sure. And, you know, being a disabled vet, I'm disabled too. And it has helped all my disabilities. They're not gone. And a lot of them will never recover because their tissue, their, you know, damaged, ruptured pectoral muscle, stuff's just not going to come back. But the pain is so diminished that you didn't even realize you're living with it, right? And then it's gone. It's like, oh my gosh. Yeah. So
I said that in a video that I'm getting ready to post is this how I've, because the headaches and stuff came back and the irritability and stuff because of stupid dairy. And I was like thinking, is this what I've been living with? Is this how I've been living for so long? No wonder I was so hard to live with and nobody liked me because I was a bear. But yeah, it's just amazing how it's changed.
Scott,
so
unmute yourself.
Yeah. So for me, no, I'm not muted. I just want to make sure, you know, that I have a really loud computer. I don't want to pollute the stream. My non-scale victory, I guess, it's like everybody else. It falls in a couple different areas, but to sum them up is I have my favorite belt I wear for when I go out working around the house. You know, I'm here in Alabama. It gets hot. You got to wear a belt and it gets wet. And anyway, as long as I'm on my last hole on that belt, and you know, so that's really good. And my pants will fall down if I don't have my belt on. So that's a. Remember how I told you my belt buckle was a big motivator, right? The other thing is I am finding myself with increased range of mobility and doing things like bending over to do socks or cut nails or doing a real quick foot movement so I didn't get tripped doing something. So it's a global sense of being able to, like, I didn't hop over a fence, but I was coming out of the clinic the other day and I didn't want to go walking all the way around. So I just let my hip hit it and I swung my feet over and kept on moving. You know, I kind of came up sideways, flipped over, kept on walking, not flip, but just brought the legs over and kept on moving, didn't miss a beat. I was like, Because, you know, when we were a kid, when we were younger, you know, even in all the battle route, you know, you're hopping and going and doing things. And now I'm like, I can't come down a ladder, but like, you know, I come down ladders very carefully. Now I think I can almost move down it with some degree of rapidity. I'm not quite going fast rope, but you know, I can get down the thing, right? And so, long story, I would say that a global sense of mobility has improved.
So I got to comment on your belt. So I actually went through so many belts so fast that I went to this. This is my old Army Riggers belt. Anyone who's been in the field knows you lose weight so fast when you're in the field with your armor and stuff that your pants start dropping off your butt. So you have to get like a Velcro belt like this that you can just adjust on the fly. So this is what all I use right now. I'm refusing to buy a belt until I get back down to about a 34-inch waist. Right now I'm at a 36 and a half. So once I get down to 34, that's where I was at college, and then I'll probably buy some belts. I'll probably buy a couple of nice ones because I kept buying these belts and going through the holes. I was like, oh my gosh, you know,
I'd be happy to get down to a 40. I started at 50 plus. I mean,
well, you're a big man, 6'5". I mean, you're huge.
Yeah. I'll tell you, one of the problems, the biggest problem that I've had is I have no clothes now. I have no clothes. No clothes. I have T-shirts, some shorts. I have, I bought one pair of jeans and it's a 32. And that was second grade the last time I wore a 32. And I took a truckload of stuff. When I say truckload, I mean a truckload of every suit that I had, every sport jacket that I had, every pair of pants that I had, everything that I had, I gave away to Goodwill. And I have no clothes. Now I'm retired, so I don't need a lot of clothes. But if something happened and an event came up where I had to have a suit, I'd be out of luck. I don't have a sport coat. I would look like a little boy in his father's suits if I tried to put my old clothes back on now.
Oh yeah, I was 240 when I came back in the Army in 2004, so I could put on my BDUs again. I guarantee you, they fit perfectly right now. So I'm 234, so I mean, they probably hang a little bit on me, but I could definitely get my old uniform, and that was not the case.
I still have my uniform, and I tried it on yesterday. the jacket, and it's still a little tight, the one I wore for my retirement. So I got a little bit to go, but I'll get there.
So Carnivore Backwoods said his greatest victory is getting off meds. You guys have gotten off meds probably.
Absolutely.
I have, yeah, especially just even over the counter, like allergy meds, no longer take them. I mean, it's amazing. And, so all kinds of, much less Aleve than I used to take. I have big, giant pills, like bottles of pills for allergies that will last me a lifetime now, because if I were to take one every week or something, I'd have like 50 years of allergy pills. So
how about Motrin?
Oh yeah, Motrin, Aleve.
Yeah,
All
of those NSAIDs, they wreak such havoc. They wreak such havoc on us. And everybody's eating that stuff like candy.
Ranger candy, yeah.
Yeah.
Fresh water, clean socks, and Motrin. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Everyone knows that. All right. How about your greatest challenges? I don't want to leave everyone thinking that we just had a great time getting here, that it was super easy, because I know we all had challenges. So what was your greatest challenge to date? Anyone?
I can
my gut hurt.
Oh.
We'll start with Katerina, because she beat you. She beat you to the line.
Well, coming from a whole food plant-based diet, the whole first 2 weeks that I was on the carnivore diet, I spent in the bathroom, and it was like having a colonoscopy prep. It was pretty bad. So that was really big for me. I already suffered from IBS, and that just made it much, much worse. And then I really struggled, and still struggling, with a sugar addiction. And having, I'm doing really good until I'm not, until something happens, or, I see it or something. But those were my big things, was just realizing, for starters, how addicted I was to that poison. And then also trying to find the ratio of fat to protein so that I didn't live in the bathroom, aside from being in the bathroom from eating meat when it'd been 13 years. So that was hard for me to get that ratio, because I think it was Mitch that was saying, if you eat too much fat, you're in the bathroom. If you eat too little, you're in the bathroom, or, you're not going to the bathroom. If you have dairy, you're going to the bathroom. So that was my real struggle for the first 2 weeks. And the sugar, well, I think that's just ongoing. I'm not sure how long it's going to take before that goes away completely.
It should, though.
Yeah. It will. Yeah, it will. Mine's gone. So who's next? Greatest challenge.
Biggest challenge. That's a hard one for me. I've been keto for a lot of years before I did carnivore. So I was pretty fat. I guess I was most of the way to being fat adapted. And the only problems I was having was that I could never lose my carb addiction on keto, because any carbs for me was like alcohol for an alcoholic. You can cure the alcoholism, but you're always an addict. And that's why alcoholics can't ever drink just in moderation, or they can't just drink a thimbleful even, because the bottle
Right.
will follow. Well, that's the way I was with sugar. So I found myself on keto. I was allowed to eat berries and nuts. Okay. So I, of course, figured out how to consume 3 pounds of blueberries in one day, because that was okay. I started out, I'd buy a big 3-pound bag of frozen blueberries, and I had a little glass custard cup. You know what those are? Those little Pyrex custard cups.
I have them.
Yeah. And I would buy, and I'd go home with a 3-pound bag of blueberries and a bag of pecans or walnuts. And I'd say, I'm going to allow myself 1 cup a day. And I would eat 1 cup, and the next thing I knew, the 3-pound bag was gone. And I had made 30 trips back and forth to the freezer. So that's when I finally said to myself, you're doing okay. You're becoming adapted to this, but every time you even eat anything that has carbs in it, you're off the wagon. So I didn't have not a single issue that a keto flu or bathroom problems or any of that stuff at all. I just started eating meat, and the rest is history. So I can't really, I haven't had the greatest challenge for me was, I guess, just that first step of saying, and that's something that people don't realize. We all make decisions in life. I know that I have, where you obligate yourself to something. It's like buying a car with a 6-year car loan. You know, you're all excited when you buy the car, and then pretty soon it hits you that, holy cow, I got to be making these payments for the next 6 years. Well, when you go into carnivore, most people don't think this is maybe the last pizza I will ever eat in my life. Maybe this is the last piece of bread that I will ever eat in my entire life. Maybe this is the last piece of fruit I will ever eat in my entire life. And the thought, if you really stop to think about that, it would probably scare everybody away. It's probably a good thing they don't think about it. But I think about it now when I look back at the stuff I used to eat, and I've come to terms with that in my mind that no, I am never going to eat that stuff, not once, not ever again for my entire life. And it's okay now. And that's a tremendous place to be, where you can not feel that you're unable to have something that you really want. You know the feeling? You guys all know it if you've been on this a while. You just don't want it anymore. You don't want it anymore. You don't want it anymore. So that'll happen to you if you manage to stick to it. And you got to stick to it. It took me a year. It took me a full year where I finally got to this place where I am now.
So it's so worth it. It is so worth it. All right, Scott, you got something?
Oh, I just say for me, the biggest thing is getting over some, one would be gut health, and the other part, just getting used to it. And the other part would be meshing with those around me. It's the environment, not so much myself. It's not as wholeheartedly accepted as one might hope.
Yeah, I got that. I'm tracking. All right. Well, I think that's all the questions I got. I'm just going to share my website real quick because I do have a podcast. So I have launched a series called Mission Carnivore, where I interview veterans who are on the carnivore lifestyle and how it's affected their mental health and physical health. And the first interview is out, and it's a UK veteran who was with the Desert Rats, famous from World War II, but he was in Gulf War. So he's a Gulf War era vet, and he reversed his type 2 diabetes and his Gulf War syndrome, which he was suffering from. So it's pretty amazing. Check that out. You can check it out on carnivoresoldier.com, or you can watch the video on the YouTube channel, because I also have the video as a playlist. So I think that's it. I'm going to get in. You guys can stay on for a minute. We'll chat afterwards, but I'm going to go ahead and wind this down and say goodbye to everybody. So I'm going to remove you guys. All right, guys. So all I got to say to you now is stay strong and overcome. Carnivore Soldier, out.